Hey everybody, Crow back again with another pickups video, and this is kind of a special pickups video because yesterday I was at the video game summit and I'll be playing a little bit of footage I took for that over in the corner here. Actually, this is just off my cell phone. I only took like 2 minutes worth of footage and I doubt you're even going to see all that. But the video game summit is kind of a smaller event. It's kind of more of a one giant room deal. A lot of people selling video games, and then there's a section off in the corner where people could play games. I did play a bunch of Vectrex stuff, Minesweeper. There's Turbo Fest is there as well, at least from what I understood. So there's a whole bunch of people playing Turbo Graphics games. And then they had a guest there, Brian Collin, who worked on several video games, including Rampage, which is one of my favorites, and Xenophobe. So when I was there, I talked to him a little bit. I got bought a Rampage poster, a little mini poster, and he signed that. And while I was also there, I brought my NES cartridges for Rampage and Xenophobe, and he actually signed those as well. And that I thought was pretty good. He worked on those games, and now I got cartridges with his signature on them. Now I did buy 10 games while I was there. I mean, the event went from like 10 a.m. to like 7 p.m. but I only spent a couple hours there. For me, it's not a full day event type of thing. Even like the Midwest Gaming Classic, I don't usually stay for the full day. I'm not usually, getting kicked out, as it were. But usually when I go for a couple hours. I have some fun, and then I come back. In fact, when I came back, I started playing the games, testing them out during the live stream. So the footage that you're going to see from these games are taken directly from the stream that I did yesterday. Other than the games, I did buy a few knickknacks here and there. Just a quick view over there. I'm not going into too much details, but I did buy a couple cool magnets and some keychains from Japan. I thought those were pretty cool. But let's get into what I actually picked up. Now, as soon as I walked in, there was one of the things I kind of look for are Atari 8-bit computer stuff and Commodore 64 stuff. I'm probably one of the few people that goes to these events looking for that stuff. And there's usually not that much to choose from, except this year, one of the first booths I went to, saw a big giant box on the ground full of Commodore 64 games. And I was like, oh my God, I'm picking through this stuff, and I'm like, oh, I have this one, oh, I need that one. And I picked up a whole stack, and I was like, I go to the guy, hey, how much are these games? And he's like, I said, hey, where are the prices for these games? How much do you want for them? He's like, oh, they're all in my head. So he starts adding them up, and he's like, well, $185, but I'll give them to you for $150. And I'm like, okay, that's way more money than I want to spend. So I kind of narrowed it down to 5 Commodore 64 games. So the first one I got here is Touchdown Football. Now this was the cheapest of the bunch. I'm not going to remember exactly all the prices for all these because of the way he kind of added them all together and kind of brought down the price. So for these 5 games, I spent about $80. This one was $10. I remember specifically he wanted $10, but again, that was just the price by itself. The reason I got this is a couple of reasons. This is an Electronic Arts game, and the album style box has has the disc. I don't think it has the manual. That's still like the one thing this is missing, but that's all right. One of the other reasons I got it is because this used to be a game I used to play as a kid, and when I was playing this during the live stream, it just brought back so many memories. I was like, oh yeah, I could barely remember how to play it. But just listening to the music and looking at the animations and stuff, I remember this. I wound up playing a full game with 5-minute quarters. I lost by 1 point, but still had a bunch of fun with this. And mainly I got this, also because it is an Electronic Arts album style game. So Touchdown Football, that's one. Also, now this was one of the most expensive in the lot, but I got it again because album style cover, this time by Mindscape. This is Devious. Not the best version of Devious in the world, but again, album style art box and stuff. This is the only kind of box you'll get Devious in. It's really awesome artwork. It's a little dinged up here, but again, I don't think it has the manual, but it does have the disc. Actually, you know what? Take that back. It does have the manual. It's in this little secret section here. But yeah, just really cool. Devious is a decent game. They got around the fact that there's only one button by just having you fire and drop bombs at the same time. So yeah, I played this for a little while, but I don't know how much this, he wanted like 35 or something, 35, 40. But again, just dropping the price down and bundling it all together. I don't really remember exactly. This was, all I remember is this was the most expensive out of the lot. Next up was a game I knew I kind of had to get. Really caught my eye. Law of the West by Accolade. I've heard of this game. I've seen this game before, but on other platforms. I don't know if I've seen the Commodore 64 version before. This definitely wasn't a game that I owned as a kid. But again, you've got that album-style artwork that they only really seem to have for Commodore 64 games and some Atari 8-bit games with the disc. What's funny is you open this up and you don't really see anything. Everything's kind of in the little like panels here. So it does have the manual. It does have the disc, and I did have to refer to the manual to figure out how to even draw my gun. But yeah, it turned out to be really simple. But this is a really fun game. This really was fun. What happens is you're the sheriff of a town. You kind of just stand there. Somebody walks out in the street, and you start to have a conversation with them. You have a bunch of choices to respond to their statements, and then the conversation goes back and forth. And depending on how well it does, you'll either get shot. You'll have to shoot them. You might find a clue to go somewhere else. They might just walk away. And your goal is to really have all these encounters. They're like the same encounters every playthrough. But just choosing the different choices is where the fun is, to see where this leads you. You might get shot, you might shoot them, you get scored on it, and then either you die, you get shot, and if the doctor's available, he can fix you up, but if he's not available, you'll die. It's kind of really weird. It was really fun. I was having a ball playing this during the stream. I thought everybody who's watching kind of enjoyed it. But yeah, and then at the end of the game, when you either survive the game or you get shot, your score's tallied up based on how many people you killed, how many people you talked to. Just for a point of fact, when I was playing it, just wanted to see what would happen if I just shot everybody. So I just shot everybody and wound up like one of the lowest. You survived to the end of the day, but you wind up with one of the lowest scores. So Law of the West, I'm so glad I bought this one. I kind of wish I had this one as a kid. I probably played it all the time. Next game here, I'm going to show here, Cauldron. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't get this to work properly. The box is kind of dinged up, but it does have everything in the box. There's a couple theories as to why the game doesn't work. Now, boots up. There's actually Cauldron on one side and Cauldron 2 on the other side. I've seen these games before, not necessarily on the Commodore 64, but a lot of people in the UK or Europe, this was a popular game for them, I think. I'm pretty sure this is the US version of the game. It's on a disc. Because it was brought up, maybe it doesn't work right because it's the PAL version and it's an incompatibility with my NTSC Commodore 64. I don't know. It boots up. It looks fine. The first game, as soon as it starts, the witch character you're supposed to control kind of just flies off the screen, tumbles off the screen almost, and the game kind of just stops there. And then the Cauldron 2 boots up, and as soon as you start playing, as soon as you collide with something, the graphics glitch out and it freezes. I'll have to look into what the issue with this is. I don't know. I don't think this was one of the middle range games, maybe $20, $25. Maybe if it's the disc, maybe I could just rebuy the disc. I've had to done that before with certain games. So unfortunately, I can't play it. Now, this next game was in the box of Commodore 64 games, but when I got home, I realized, hey, wait a minute, this isn't a Commodore 64 game. This is Pit Stop on the Atari, for the Atari computer. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. And then I had a feeling like I had this game. And I looked on my shelf, I was like, wait a minute, I don't have this game. I don't even have it for the Commodore 64. What made me think that I had this game? And it was because, I realized when I had a ColecoVision, I had Pit Stop on the ColecoVision, but I did sell all my ColecoVision stuff a year or so ago. I was like, oh, okay, so we got this complete in box. It does have the cartridge in here. It has the manual. Now, Pit Stop is a lot like Pole Position. If I were to describe it, it's a lot like Pole Position, but your tires wear out, your fuel will run out, so you've got to make a pit stop and then control all the people individually to change your tires, refuel, try to do it as fast as possible, hence the title Pit Stop. This was not one I really played as a kid. The one I played as a kid was Pit Stop 2, so maybe I'll have to look out for that one in the future. I'd definitely buy Pit Stop 2 if I saw it, but I just saw this. It wasn't that bad, I think. I think it was maybe $10 or $15 for this complete in the box. But yeah, I'm still kind of glad I picked it up. So all those games all together, I paid $80 for. Final stuff here, all Game Boy games. The reason I have so many Game Boy games is normally I wouldn't look through the Game Boy games, but there's one title that I've been looking for. And so I keep looking and looking and looking. I went through every booth looking at their Game Boy games like, 2 or 3 times, and I just never found it. But I did find some other titles here that seem pretty interesting, really cheap. First start off here, we have Hyper Loadrunner. I think this was like $3 or $4. I kind of like Loadrunner, although I'm terrible at it, so I bought it. I was just terrible playing this game. I don't know the ins and outs of Loadrunner, but I think it's a decent Game Boy game. Second game here really took me by surprise. Out of Gas. I never heard of this game before. Again, $3 or $4, and I tried looking up gameplay footage, but for some reason I was having connectivity issues. So I just like, okay, $3, $4. I'm just gonna take a risk, buy it because it sounds kind of cool. And you know what? This game is like the perfect Game Boy game. I wish I would have had this as a kid. What it reminds me of, it's like overall, it's like they took asteroid controls, like your ship controls, like the ship from Asteroids. It kind of floats around these arenas, and you have to shoot these gas canisters. And once you shoot the gas canisters, you kind of automatically get promoted to the next level. Now, sometimes you have to shoot certain, they're numbered, and you have to hit them in a certain order in order to finish the level. And then as you go through the game, the obstacles get more and more. You'll get shot at. Now, the funny thing is that getting shot doesn't automatically blow up your ship, but rather it removes time from your timer. And the only way you die is when your timer hits 0. So sometimes there's purposely levels where they put the timer really, it's not that difficult, but the timer is really low, so you kind of have to speed through the level and stuff. I thought this was very good. It was kind of like, I've never heard of this game. Why haven't I not heard of this game? I recommend Out of Gas. I wound up playing this for over half an hour during my stream yesterday. I really had a good time with it. Now, next game I bought here was Popeye Too, and I actually bought this from the same booth that I bought the Commodore 64 games. The second path through, I bought it with another game. So I think I paid like $15 for this and the next game I'm going to show you. But the reason Popeye 2 kind of stuck out is because I literally just watched a video from Slope's Game Room on the Popeye video games. And this was one of the games that seemed, when I was watching a video, I was like, wow, that seems pretty interesting. And what it is it's a platformer where you run through as Popeye, and he's got his big giant arm, and the more spinach you eat, the bigger the arm gets. And when your arm gets fully powered out, he starts shooting spinach. It's really funny. But it's an excellent, I think it's a really good platformer as well. It takes, a little bit, not as good as maybe Mario Land, but still really good. Maybe it is as good as Mario Land. I don't know. It's not as good as like Super Mario World, definitely. But on the Game Boy, I think this really works, and it's really satisfying to go through and just have Popeye uppercutting everything. And it, even though it is a punch, you don't really have to be super close to everything to punch it, especially when you get that arm really, really big. It took me a little while to get through the second stage just because of the way the maze was and just trying to learn the controls. But once you get used to it all, again, it kind of reminds me, a lot of people commented that it was like Popeye in Mario Land, and that's kind of what it is. And also the fact that he's punching bricks, kind of like Alex Kidd does. It kind of reminds me of kind of a mix between Alex Kidd and Mario Land. So, yeah, I'm glad I bought this one, Popeye 2, in fact. And then the next game I bought, again, with the Popeye 2. Didn't really know much about this one, but since it's a Kirby game, I bought it. Kirby Block Ball. But again, I think this is a really good Game Boy game for portable. It's like Arkanoid, but with Kirby. Kirby likes to throw himself into these other genre types of games. Like one of my favorites was Kirby's Dream Course, where it was like mini golf, but with Kirby. And then there was the puzzle game Kirby's Avalanche, which I think was just Puyo Puyo. But this is Arkanoid with Kirby, with a little tweaks here and there, where you've got a paddle on the bottom. sometimes you got a paddle on the top, sometimes you got paddles on the sides. You've got boss characters to fight against. Hitting the button makes him go a little bit faster and harder to break other types of bricks that you can't with a normal bounce. So yeah, Kirby, I'm glad I got this one. Kirby's Block Ball. I think this would have been one of my favorite Game Boy games if I had it back in the day. And then the final game is, remember when I was saying earlier that there was a Game Boy game and I was looking for specifically, and I walked through about 3 or 4 times, or 2 or 3 times or whatever, and I could never find it. Well, actually, on my last pass through, I actually found it. I don't know how I missed it so many times, but it's the Getaway on the Game Boy. And you might be wondering, why in the world would I want this? And it's just because it's an oddity to me. It's a Game Boy port of one of my favorite pinball machines. And just the fact that they made that, I was like, I just had to go out of my way and find this without actually finding it on eBay. I didn't want to pay eBay prices. This was marked as $6, and they gave it to me for $5. I was like, yeah, I just wanted to have this in my collection just because it's a Game Boy port of one of my favorite pinball machines. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. This one might actually be my favorite now. I don't know. But the thing I found odd is that it says it's Super Game Boy, it has Super Game Boy compatible features on there. But when I was playing it on the Super Game Boy, I didn't really notice anything. It didn't even have a border. So I don't know where the Super Game Boy features are in this. But it doesn't play that great, you know, especially with what we have now. I mean, you could play the Getaway through Pinball Arcade on your cell phone. You don't need to play this. This, to me, was just an oddity to have. But for the time, I think they did a really good job with it. I mean, again, the physics aren't that great and everything, but for when this came out, I think I would have loved to have this. But I never knew this came out until recently, and then I just started looking for it. Anyway, so that's it. That was everything from the Video Game Summit. Kind of wanted to make this a shorter video. I actually don't know if I did or not, but I'm going to keep it short as it is right now. I do have some other pickups. I'm going to save that for the next pickups video way down the line, hopefully. So, yeah, thanks for watching. See y'all next time.